Chapter 64 to 67. The Land of Hot Water, Underground Secret Base. Large medical tanks lined up in a row, with the bodies of the Hyuga clan immersed in a preservative solution. The air was filled with a strange smell, a mixture of chemical reagents, treated blood and organs, metal instruments, and rubber. It was eerie and silent, perfect for playing Gothic organ music in the background. Shinosuke Hyuga's corpse lay on a metal bed, his eye sockets still hollow. However, thanks to Yuto Hyuga's meticulous work, Shinosuke's body was now intact, no longer as horrifying as it had been when hung in the forest of bones. "Actually, you look quite fine." Yuto stretched lazily, muttering to Shinosuke's corpse. He loosened his neck, then turned his back on the metal bed and the tanks, continuing to examine the two precious Byakugan. Extracted whole, these Byakugan were priceless treasures, worth more than gold. The Byakugan of the branch family would automatically destroy themselves upon extraction, unlike the main family. However, the main family's small numbers and elite protection made capturing one alive almost impossible. Tracking and even ambushing a reconnaissance master with long-range vision was an extremely costly endeavor. Yuto placed one hand over Shinosuke's extracted Byakugan and the other over his own eyes, channeling equal amounts of chakra into both, carefully discerning their differences. After a while, he lowered his arms, playing with the eyeballs and thinking deeply. His own eyes were deformed. This wasn't about shape or size, but a deeper deformity. Density of optic nerves, chakra transmission speed, chakra utilization efficiency. The branch family, marked with the caged bird seal during childhood, had their Byakugan's abilities constrained during crucial developmental periods. To say this had no effect on the body was impossible. The branch family lacked more than just a degree of vision. Yuto placed the two Byakugan in a small glass jar and set it back on the table. He then moved Shinosuke's body into a tank and neatly arranged the 5 branch family members' corpses on a large metal table. Next, he began calibrating and cleaning various bizarre instruments. If Tsunade were here, she would recognize the set of medical instruments for treating certain blood diseases. Their function was to draw blood, treat it externally, and then return it to the body. However, Yuto had added many components to this medical setup, far exceeding its original design. Not only could it draw blood, but it could also crush bones and grind flesh. After completing the adjustments, Yuto placed a Hyuga Chunin's body into the funnel-shaped entrance of the instrument. The greatness of new technology lies in innovation and experimentation. This thought crossed Yuto's mind as he watched the body being consumed by the machine. He didn't remain idle but moved to the side, monitoring real-time parameters and continually channeling chakra with one hand. In the shinobi world, the pinnacle of medical technology inevitably involved chakra. Yuto aimed for purification, temperature, rotation speed, acidity, buffering solution composition, chakra ratio, the sequence and timing of each purification step. Every detail was meticulously considered by him. Having received a comprehensive science and engineering education in his previous life, Yuto's understanding of experimentation and technology surpassed 99.9% of people in this world. An hour later, the machine stopped. At the end of the process, a cylindrical container, the size of a fist, was slowly released. Inside the cylinder was a mass of amber-colored viscous liquid. All the essence of the Hyuga Chunin had been condensed into this form. Blood, bone, flesh, meridians, and nerves, all transformed. This condensed viscous liquid was less than 30 milliliters. Yuto placed this precious liquid into a sterile container and rested for a long time, waiting until his chakra was 80% restored before continuing. He then replaced the power source and loaded another body into the machine. Yuto was purifying, extracting all the essence from the Hyuga corpses. He aimed to supplement his own bloodline. Breaking free from the caged bird's bondage required immense power. Now, having studied under Tsunade, created his own S-rank ninjutsu Lion's Fang Bite, and practiced the yin seal, Yuto was certain he would eventually master the strength of 100 technique. With hard work, Yuto believed he would reach Kage-level combat power, but even Kage-level strength wasn't enough. In his past life, reading manga gave him a clear understanding. Even among Kages, the power gap could be greater than the gap between a Kage and a Genin. No one would ever compare Hashirama Senju with the fourth Kazekage Rasa. Even if he acquired the combat power to become a Kage, the difference between barely passing and breaking the ceiling was immense. But Yuto was not an ordinary shinobi. Flowing in his veins was the same blood as the ancestor of chakra. The Byakugan, the eyes of the ancestor of chakra, held enormous potential. The Hyuga name, traced back many generations, is Otsutsuki. A Kekkei Genkai organ was powerful. The theoretical level of chakra that the body could refine was extraordinary. Combining these two aspects, every time Yuto thought of this, even he found it hard to believe. How did the Hyuga clan, with such a powerful start, end up like this? However, Yuto didn't care about the Hyuga clan's decline. Knowing that supplementing and improving the bloodline could make the body lean towards Otsutsuki was enough. The bloodline reversion plan had been on Yuto's mind for many years. Only after becoming Tsunade's disciple did he learn enough, and after extensive deliberation and preparation, he finally found enough materials to attempt implementation during the first week of the Third Shinobi World War. 4 Chunin and 1 Jonin, an elite configuration capable of executing S-rank missions. This was strength that even some small ninja villages couldn't muster. These Hyuga corpses were enough for Yuto to initiate the first step of his bloodline supplementation. After an unknown amount of time, apart from Shinosuke, all 5 branch family members' bodies had been processed and converted into viscous liquid. Yuto carefully collected this precious liquid. He then added pre-prepared items into the culture dish filled with his own stem cells. Ex vivo cell culture, another technique Yuto mastered after refining his medical ninjutsu skills. "Eat well," he said, placing the large culture dish in a constant temperature environment. "Hope you bring me some surprises when you return to my body. TN." Ex vivo cell culture refers to a form of in vitro cell culture that uses cells or tissue freshly collected from a living organism. In this process, living cells or tissues are taken from an organism and cultured in a laboratory apparatus under sterile conditions, with no alterations, for up to 24 hours. Yuto placed the petri dish into the incubator and relaxed. He had a knack for experiments and technology, adeptly adjusting environmental parameters like air pressure and humidity to optimize cell growth. By refining the liquid essence of the Hyuga clan and integrating it with his own stem cells for growth, he would extract them after a set period and reintroduce them into his body. In this process, the external cells effectively experienced a kind of intrauterine development, but their growth environment was the pure essence of the Hyuga clan. He was eager to see what changes would occur once these cells reintegrated into his body. Yuto was highly cautious about operations like transplanting Hashirama cells. Orochimaru had conducted human experiments on 60 children, transplanting Hashirama cells into each of them, with only one survivor, Yamato, who still couldn't compare to the first Hokage in power. Given such a high mortality rate, Yuto didn't dare to attempt it lightly. Cultivating his own stem cells to undergo mutations and reintroducing them repeatedly would spread the effects throughout his body. Since these were his cells, the likelihood of rejection was minimal. Additionally, there would generally be no uncontrollable outcomes during the absorption of Hyuga essence in the petri dish. After all, the Hyuga clan was relatively insular. To prevent their Kekkei Genkai from leaking and to maintain class stability, they usually married within the clan, and most members shared blood relations going back several generations. Based on the cell division and growth cycle, it will take some more time. Yuto sat on the metal chair in his secret base, calculating the time. He suppressed his anticipation and excitement, trying to remain calm. Even though he operated as a free agent on the battlefield, his prolonged absence without reports would attract Minato's attention. Moreover, with the disappearance of Shinosuke Hyuga and his death squads, and the only survivor, Rurina Hyuga, dying of a brain thrombosis in the middle of the night, anyone with a bit of sense would realize these incidents were no coincidence. Konoha and the Hyuga clan would certainly investigate. The Hyuga clan wouldn't tolerate the leakage of their Byakugan. Yuto knew he couldn't afford any mistakes. If things went wrong, not even Tsunade could protect him. Just rest a bit longer, then head out. Yuto watched the incubator's slow operation, his breathing gradually steadying. Half a month flew by. The Third Shinobi World War, which had started with tentative probing, finally erupted fully. Large-scale battles between shinobi forces led to a sharp increase in deaths, with jonin falling daily and obituaries flooding back to their homelands like snowflakes. Initially, it was Konoha versus Kumogakure and Tsunagakure against Iwagakure, but within half a month, the number of warring factions increased. One day, Konoha would battle Kumogakure, and the next, they would fight Kirigakure in the mist. All 5 great nations and their powerful shinobi villages were involved, without clear alliances, resulting in chaotic warfare. Small countries once again became battlegrounds, with the 5 great shinobi villages avoiding their territories and fighting in weaker nations. Although most shinobi had no interest in slaughtering civilians, the destructive power of those with chakra meant entire civilian populations near battlefields often perished. Tragedies unfolded daily. Calls for peaceful coexistence were quickly dismissed by certain factions as weakness, and such opinions were ignored. War was like a runaway train with broken brakes. It wouldn't stop unless its wheels shattered or it crashed into a mountain. On a particular day, on a certain grassland, dense clouds floated in the sky, blocking the sunlight, which filtered through with a ghastly crimson hue, like the gaze of a demon from hell. The scene on the ground was even more horrific. Severed limbs and blood were scattered across the ruined grass, with broken bodies everywhere. Groups of shinobi wearing headbands fought fiercely, relentlessly taking each other's lives. More precisely, it was a group of Kirigakure and Kumogakure shinobi surrounding a single young boy. The boy was wearing a Konoha headband, a dark green standard jonin high-collar vest with a loose kimono underneath. His right arm was wrapped in black bandages with a semi-transparent chakra arm guard roaring like a beast. His attire, age, speed, and techniques made him easily recognizable to the Kirigakure and Kumogakure shinobi. Yuto Hyuga, the rising genius of Konoha since the war began. Kill this shinobi first, or none of us will survive. The leaders of Kirigakure and Kumogakure agreed and led their subordinates in an attack on Yuto. Ha! Decisive! Yuto chuckled, raising his right arm to casually block a Kumogakure shinobi's horizontal slash, while his free left hand gently pushed, sending a gentle fist strike that crushed the enemy's liver. During this period, after numerous battles, his mastery of the lion's fang bite had improved significantly. He could now control its temperature, force, and speed in a very short time, adjusting to the most suitable combat form when facing enemies. The lone lion of Konoha was often used in battlefield reports by enemy shinobi villages to refer to Yuto. Yuto was quite pleased with this new nickname, finding it much better than the jewel of the Hyuga nonsense. After killing the Kumogakure shinobi, Yuto squinted, and his lion's fang arm guard roared. The ground beneath his feet shattered as he used the force to charge into the midst of the Kirigakure and Kumogakure shinobi, slaughtering them all. To increase his efficiency, he first targeted and killed lower-ranking shinobi. Before long, the 2 teams of shinobi were terrified and retreated under the cover of their leaders, cautiously watching Yuto as they withdrew. The youth stood still, not pursuing. The Byakugan was not omnipotent and couldn't see through all traps. Reckless pursuit was never a good idea. Kirigakura's Fuguki Suikazan and Kumogakura's Killer Bee were both in this area. Caution was necessary. Slowly retracting his lion's fang arm guard, Yuto kept his Byakugan activated temporarily, then dashed into a dense forest, quickly leaving the battlefield. However, he didn't expect that just as he reached a small stream to wash the blood off his shoes, a toad suddenly jumped out of the water, carrying a scroll in its mouth. Yuto was startled but took the scroll, feeding the toad a piece of meat in return. "Minato-senpai, sending a message, huh? Thanks for the effort." The little toad happily croaked before disappearing into the stream. With his right arm wrapped in black bandages, the young shinobi quickly read through the scroll. "They finally tracked me down. Ch." The border between the land of hot water and the land of frost. With the arrival of the main forces, Konoha has established a small camp here, using the nearby forest for timber and complementing it with earth release techniques. The walls are thick enough to withstand a considerable level of ninjutsu attacks. 7 days ago, Orochimaru arrived here with a large army, intensifying the chaotic battle among Konoha, Kirigakure, and Kumogakure. Meanwhile, Jiraiya has taken combat troops to guard against Iwagakure and Tsunagakure due to the mysterious disappearance of the third Kazekage, causing conflicts between the land of earth and the land of wind. For now, they have no capacity to expand eastward. However, everyone knows that a world war is inevitable. Yuto returned to Konoha's newly established camp. After showing Minato's token to the guards, a Janin messenger led him to the central area. Along the way, many people recognized him. Even if they didn't know his face, seeing the black bandage wrapped around his right arm, they realized he was the renowned Lone Lion. Yuto stopped in front of a tall domed building. After reporting his name at the door, the guards let him in. Inside, there were many people, including several freelancer. Minato sat on a high seat in the center, his warm blue eyes smiling. "Yuto-kun, thank you for hurrying back." "Commander." Yuto saluted. With so many people around, he didn't say much and stood aside with his arms crossed. Minato cleared his throat. Seeing everyone present, he began. "Orochimaru is still on the front line. There's no need to bother him with this. I hereby announce," he glanced around, his voice calm, "that from now on, everyone in this room except for me and the village emissaries will take a few days off." The atmosphere suddenly became tense. There were 32 shinobi in the room, all experienced Chunin-level elites, whether from civilian backgrounds or Konoha's noble clans, holding significant positions in their units. A few days off? Isn't that just a euphemism for house arrest? Everyone's gaze slowly focused behind Minato. Standing behind the yellow flash were several individuals in masks and robes. They must be the village emissaries Minato referred to. "These people are emissaries sent by the village. They are our own, so don't be nervous. Just cooperate with them." Minato paused and smiled lightly. "After the rest, report back to me. You will either continue your positions or take on even more challenging tasks. In the end, wars between nations depend on you who fight on the front lines." Yuto raised an eyebrow, amused. Minato's words were well crafted. He informed his subordinates to cooperate with the village's investigation, promised them their positions back or even promotions after it was over, and subtly warned the village emissaries not to forget who was fighting on the front lines. It made sense. Generals leading troops abroad despise backstabs and distrust from the rear. Minato's displeasure at the village emissaries investigating so many core members was understandable. A monkey-masked emissary spoke softly. "Commander Minato, rest assured, it's just a routine investigation." The yellow flash nodded non-committally and was the first to leave the room. The others followed suit, waiting for the village emissary's questions. Yuto returned to the small house Minato had assigned him last week. Lying on the bed, he didn't train, but pondered how to handle the village's inquiry. Before it was completely dark, an emissary called him back to the room. The interrogation was simple, calling suspects one by one, implying there had been ninja surveillance. Yuto stood silently. The monkey-masked man spoke first. Yuto Hyuga, Shinosuke Hyuga, and his bodyguards are either missing or dead, likely with no hope. Unfamiliar voice, an Anbu captain? Yuto thought, but remained calm. I know about this. After our first clash with the Kumo shinobi, Minato-sama informed me. Oh? What's your take on it? Young Master Shinosuke-sama sacrificed himself for Konoha and the clan. He's a role model for me. A role model? The monkey mask nodded approvingly. As expected of Tsunade-sama's disciple, besides Orochimaru and Minato, you're the most famous here. The lion's name has already reached the village. All thanks to Hokage-sama's guidance. Your lion's fang bite is indeed powerful technique. Your frontal assault and piercing abilities are formidable. That's why Minato allowed you to act freely as a free agent. Yes. So, no one knows what you do in your free time. No one can prove your whereabouts. Also, your lion's fang can easily kill Jonin-level opponents. That's right, Yuto admitted openly. So, where were you that night? In the land of frost, ambushing Kumo shinobi. So no one can verify your story. Indeed, Yuto sighed. But that's the truth. On his way here, he had figured out the best strategy, to deny everything. Slug Sage had cleaned up the battle traces, and the bodies were transported between the Shikotsu forest and the secret base. No external evidence could be found. Having the capability doesn't mean committing the act. If capability were evidence, Minato should be the first to be questioned. Using the Flying Thunder God to travel through space, he could wipe out Konoha's advance team in one night. The monkey-masked man sighed. Other suspects had equally irrefutable alibis, like, I didn't do it. Why would I kill Shinosuke? Why would I kill them? We're fighting Kumo and Kirigakure here, and you're targeting your own people. I've contributed to Konoha. I've shed blood for the village. I've been injured several times on this border. You're slandering me. I need to report this to the commander. No, I need to report this to the Hokage. This kind of unsolved case, with no bodies, was the hardest to handle, and the clues were few and useless, only offending people unnecessarily. Seeing the emissary silent for a long time, Yuto relaxed, but unexpectedly a cat-masked emissary suddenly stepped forward, using body flicker to appear in front of the Branch family boy. Their eyes met, and Yuto saw a pair of grief-stricken Byakugan. You bastard! As a Branch family member, why did Shinosuke die and you lived? Though cloaked in a black robe, Yuto could tell from her waist and chest that this person was a woman, and this voice. Looking into those eyes filled with hate and sorrow, Yuto suddenly felt better. You had a good girlfriend, young Master Shinosuke. Yuto lightly frowned, displaying a wronged and panicked expression, and respectfully said, Lady Mako. Don't say my name with your filthy mouth! Mako Hyuga growled from her throat, stepping forward and grabbing Yuto by the collar. As a Branch family member, your primary duty is always to protect the main family's safety. I ask you, Shinosuke is gone. Why are you still alive? Yuto's lips quivered as he stammered. I'm sorry, Lady Mako. I wasn't on the front lines at the time. Good, good. You recognize your mistake. The Hyuga family didn't raise you for nothing. A cold light flashed in the girl's eyes, and her chakra instinctively flowed to her hand. Then take your apology and go underground with Shinosuke. Enough! A sudden roar exploded, and an Anbu with a monkey mask instantly appeared between them, tightly gripping Mako's wrist. Yuto clearly saw the white skin of the girl's wrist being pressed into a few blue and purple marks, indicating the Anbu was genuinely angry. Mako Hyuga, we represent the village. Put away your tantrums. As a shinobi, you shouldn't act like this. And more importantly, this is not the Hyuga compound. A village envoy killing an innocent combat personnel on the front lines, and that combat personnel was a disciple of the famous Sannin. Just thinking about it made the monkey-masked man shiver. If Yuto were to die without resistance, to quell the anger of the troops and Tsunade-sama, the entire group would definitely be skinned alive by the Hokage. Ah, girls at this age, always doing reckless things for love, the monkey-masked man thought, releasing Mako's hand and standing in front of Yuto. Yuto Hyuga, you may go now. Thank you for your cooperation. The girl snorted coldly, glaring fiercely at the boy. I command you as a member of the main family, wait for me outside. At this moment, the monkey-masked man wanted to swallow Mako whole. Mako Hyuga, this is the final warning. In this situation, maliciously targeting combat personnel, I have the authority to... Relax. I won't harm him. Mako lowered her head, taking a few deep breaths. I just want to talk. The monkey-masked man looked at her suspiciously, but still kept his body shielding Yuto. Yuto respectfully bowed. Yes, Lady Mako. He smiled kindly at the monkey-masked man, then walked out of the room. Mako followed him out, and the monkey-masked Anbu could only pray that this girl, foolish in love, wouldn't do something as absurd as killing someone in the street. Yuto found a small, deserted hill and stood on it, looking back. Lady Mako, what do you want to say to me? The girl removed her mask. Her face was beautiful, her body curvy from years of gentle fist training, feminine yet strong. However, the sclera of her eyes were red, indicating she had cried for a long time, likely ever since she received the news of Shinosuke's death. She looked pitiful, Yuto thought. Don't worry, I'll find a chance to reunite you two. After taking off her mask, Mako remained silent for a long time. She had many things she wanted to say. To the deceased Shinosuke, to her father who repeatedly reminded her before she left, and to her little follower, Naruto Hyuga. But she didn't know what to say to Yuto. Maybe it's those eyes similar to mine, even though he's just a branch family member. The girl sighed in her heart. When people are vulnerable, they instinctively seek out similar things to talk to, like speaking to a mirror. Lady Mako? The girl suddenly looked up, facing Yuto. I ask you, before Shinosuke, before he disappeared, did he show any strange behavior? No. Yuto thought seriously. Aside from Shinosuke's corpse condition after his death, he didn't know anything else. My duties in the unit were different from Shinosuke-sama's, so it was hard to see him, and even if we did meet, you weren't close. I understand that. Mako looked down at her toes. I mean, did he ever mention to anyone, even as a joke? Could you be more specific? Mako remained silent for a long time, then sighed. Forget it. No matter what I say now, it doesn't matter. Besides, with Shinosuke's personality, he wouldn't tell anyone about such things, not even the closest companions. He was that stubborn. Not necessarily, Yuto thought as he touched his nose. Your boyfriend became very obedient after his death, positioning his body in any way I wanted. Mako couldn't guess the thoughts in the boy's mind. After muttering a few words to herself, she turned and left. Yuto watched the girl's thin figure, tilted his head, and returned to his small room to secretly enjoy his leisure under the covers. The night passed like that. The next day, Minato Namikaze called the 32 suspects together again and, in front of the village envoy, announced the end of the investigation. Everyone was reinstated, and some even received compensatory benefits. Yuto didn't stay in the camp for long. His attention was now focused on that Petri dish, checking with his Byakugan every now and then, fearing the constant temperature environment would fail, causing all the cells to die. After ensuring no one was following him, he returned to his underground secret base. None of the traps or alarm devices he had set were triggered. The first thing Yuto did upon returning to the secret room was to check the temperature-controlled incubator. The situation inside the incubator was completely unexpected. In vitro cell proliferation, without special intervention, would gather into a lump of cells, generally forming irregular shapes. However, the stem cells growing in the Hyuga blood essence had taken an unexpected shape. A slice the size of 1/5 of a palm. The edges were extremely smooth. The thickness was a uniform 1 millimeter, and it was blood red. The shape was so regular, it didn't seem like normal cell growth, as if it had been sculpted by some great force. Yuto's eyes were burning with excitement. He remembered that before returning to the Konoha camp, the cells in the petri dish were still irregular lumps. After 2 days away, they had undergone such a transformation. Although missing the mutation process was regrettable, there would be more opportunities in the future. This mutation at least proved that his research direction was correct. The slightly pure Otsutsuki bloodline flowing in the Hyuga main family member's body could indeed cause his cells to undergo secondary development.